2. The hills behind Arkham are full of a strange magic. Something perhaps which the old wizard Edmund Carter had called down from the stars and up from the crypts of Nether Earth when he fled there from Salem in 1692. As soon as Randolph Carter was back among them, he knew he was close to one of the gates, which a few audacious, abhorrent alien-souled men had blasted through Titan walls which wasted the world and the outside absolute. Here, he felt, and on this day of the year, he could carry out with success the message he had deciphered months before the apparatus that tarnished an incredibly ancient silver key. He knew now how it must be rotated, how it must be held up to the setting sun, and what syllables of ceremony must be intoned in the void at the ninth and last turning. In a spot as close to a dark polarity and induced gate as this, it could not have failed in its primary function. Certainly he would have rest that night in the lost boyhood for which he had never ceased to mourn. He got out of the car with his key in his pocket, walking up hills deeper and deeper into the shadowy core of that brooding, haunted countryside of winding road. Vine-grown stone wall, black woodland, gnarled, neglected orchard, gaping windowed, deserted farmhouse, and nameless ruin. At the sunset hour, when his distant spires of Kingsport gleamed in the ruddy blaze, he took out the key and made the needing turnings and intonations. Only later did he realize how soon the ritual had taken effect. Then in the deepening twilight he heard a voice out of the past, old Benajah Corey, his great-uncle's hired man. Had not old Benajah been dead for 30 years? 30 years before when? What was time? Where had he been? Why was it strange that Benajah should be calling him on the 7th day of October, 1883? Was he not out later than Aunt Martha told him to stay? What was his key in his pocket, his blouse pocket, where his little telescope given him by his father on his 9th birthday 2 months before ought to be? Had he found him in the attic at home, would it unlock the mystic pylon which his sharp eye traced amidst the jagged rocks at the back of the inner cave behind the snake den on the hill? That was the place they always coupled with old Edmund Carter the wizard. People wouldn't go there, and nobody but him had ever noticed it or squirmed through root-choked fissure to that great black inner chamber with the pylon. Whose hands had carved that hint of a pylon out of a living rock? Old wizard Edmund's or others that he had conjured up and commanded? That evening, little Randolph ate supper with Uncle Chris and Aunt Martha in the old gambler's roof farmhouse. Next morning he was up early and out through the twist-burrowed apple orchard to the upper timber lock where the mouth of the snake den lurked black and forbidding amongst grotesque, overnourished oaks. A nameless expectancy was upon him. He did not even notice the loss of his handkerchief as he fumbled in his blouse pocket to see if the clear silver key was safe. He crawled through the dark orifice with tense, adventurous assurance, lighting his way with matches taken from the sitting room. In another moment he had wriggled through the root-choked fissure at the farther end, and it was in the vast, unknown inner grotto whose ultimate rock wall seemed half like a monstrous and consciously shaped pylon. Before that dank, dripping wall, he stood silent and awestruck. Lighting one match after another after he gazed. Was that stony bulge above the keystone of the imagined arch really a gigantic sculptured hand? Then he drew forth the silver key and made motions and annotations whose source he could only dimly remember. Was anything forgotten? He knew only that he wished to cross the barrier to the untrammeled land of his dreams and gulf where all dimensions dissolve into the absolute.